A title match with a special guest referee, a champ looking to take out a brother, and another dose of Cena disrespect. What could go wrong? Just keep watching. Welcome to the Doktor O'Kay Show. I am Doktor O'Kay, where we're always just keeping it real, and it is Monday Night Raw from London, England, which is fortunately the last time from Europe for just a little bit. So let's get to the matches, where we just keep catching the daybreak as New Day starts things off early by taking advantage of some ring rust to wake up and catch the daybreak to stay hot. So New Day is the ones, and Kofi called an SOS, and the New Day was just too crafty in this one, so they go to 4-0 in traditional tags, and then afterwards they demanded their title match, which finally riled up the War Raiders to come on out and hold up their titles, so we just might finally get the match that we deserve with the New Day. And that means the New Catch Republic is the twos, and this was their first match on any WWE program since NXT on July 2nd, 2024, and their first Raw since May 13th, 2024. And despite an impressive copter spin by Tyler Bate and the usual joint manipulation by Pete Dunne, they go to 0-1. Now we will say the New Catch Republic was pretty good in 2024 with an 8-5 overall record in tag team matches, and perhaps they can get back on track. And even despite a loss, this was a pretty good start, so we'll give this match an okay. Second, we just keep previewing WrestleMania as Gunther dominates Jimmy Uso, as he always seems to do with Jey Uso, by putting Jimmy to sleep and making him bleed. So Gunther is the ones, and this was all about setting an example here, but it is Gunther, so he decided he'd win the match as well. And indeed, he dominated most of it and could have won it 3 times, but he twice lifted Jimmy up from pins to inflict some more damage and finally put him to sleep to win this non-title match, and he goes to 5-0 in 2025. But Big Jim is the twos, and despite having his moments, including landing a superplex, followed by an Uso splash, then a super kick, German super kick trifecta, well, Gunther was just too strong here. But give Jimmy some credit for his 6th match in March. Pretty impressive. But this drops him back to 500 at 3-1 in one-on-one matches. And of course, you knew Gunther wasn't just going to let this go, as he put Big Jim in a second sleeper after the match, which caused Jey Uso to run down, and there was a brief scuffle before Gunther ran away through the crowd. But then after a commercial break, Gunther came on back and attacked both of them from behind, and then put 2 security guards, 1 with a powerbomb onto the steel steps and 2 with a couple kicks, so that will cost him a full month suspension for that. But as for the Usos, he was not done there either, as he ziplocked Jay's wrist to the ring post and then beat down Jimmy until he was a bloody mess, and then put in 1 more sleeper just out of Jay's reach to leave that example, so he will also get a fine for this post-match attack. But in the end, this was pretty impressive for Gunther, as he's looking awfully strong going into that WrestleMania match, and this too will get an okay. Third, we just keep... Wait, the other team was the one that messed up? Okay, as Braun Breaker accidentally spears his partner Penta, which leads to a coup de grace by Balor to pin Penta. So, yeah, I can't believe it either, but the Judgment Day is the ones, as Dom and Balor were back on the same page this week, and it paid off. And even more surprisingly, this was the first ever traditional tag match between Balor and Dom. Yeah, I had to double check my notes on that too, because you would think after all of this time they would have had to have a tag match together. So yeah, we definitely need more Findom in our life, so they go to 1-0. However, after the match, Balor said that he'd talked to Pierce about getting another IC title match after he was the one to beat Breaker, but Liv thought that Dom earned it just as much as he did, so Liv said she's going to talk to Pierce as well about getting that IC title shot. Well, that means Penta and Breakker are the twos, and Breakker had a double suplex and also worked with Penta for an assisted top rope sling blade, but Breakker cost both of them with an accidental spear to his partner, which caused Penta to yell at him backstage during an interview with Jackie. So these two are not on the same page and not going to be working together anytime soon, but for now they are 0-1. Well, Carlito didn't even have to do anything here for the Judgment Day to get a win, so I guess I have nothing here to complain about except, yet again, we need some more Findom. But we got it today at least, so it's an okay. And in our main event, we just keep wondering how much she's going to take, as special guest referee Bianca Belair took a big boot to her face by Rhea Ripley, and then a dropkick by Iyo Sky to knock her to the floor twice. And yeah, that ended up being enough for Bianca to call for the bell and a double disqualification. So we will say that Rhea is the ones because after accidentally kicking Bianca, she finally caught Iyo in the riptide, and it could have been a 10 count, but with no referee to make the count, the match continued. And I guess Rhea also learned that razor's edge from her terror twin, and she had a nice big headbutt off of an attempted crossbody by Iyo, but a no contest makes her 2-1-1. But that means Iyo is the twos, and she took way too long on a couple over the moonsault attempts, but she was able to counter a whole bunch of Rhea's power moves, and I guess we'll kind of give her a defense for this, but she at least retains the title and is 1-1. But Rhea was obviously the most upset by this outcome as she attacked Bianca at ringside, and those two swung at each other until Iyo joined in with a moonsault to the floor, taking out both of them, but it was Rhea who stood tall in the end, holding up the title even though she doesn't actually have it, and she had a riptide on both women and then followed that up with an avalanche riptide on Bianca for good measure. So Rhea will have to get a fine for starting the fight in this match. But who knows how long this one's just going to go on, as it seems it will never end with a successful conclusion. So I'd recommend they just do it again next week with a real referee. But I do want to note that Bianca crushed it with her incredible referee uniform, which is easily the best of all time. And she clearly put those horrific, bland-looking new referee uniforms to shame. But this one is Pierce's fault for putting Bianca in position in the first place. And since we have no resolution despite a strong in-ring effort by both women, unfortunately this gets a not okay. And since we only had 4 matches on the card yet again, we are going beyond the mat for Raw. So John Cena yet again started the show, but before he could say anything this time, Rhodes interrupted him. And Rhodes said that he lied to the fans because he knows that Cena cared about them, but he just wanted to know why he's doing what he's doing. So Cena said that Rhodes was protected for long enough but was not going to cook him. Instead, he's simply going to bury him because he buries mediocrity, and seeing Rhodes with that title belt disgusts him, calling Rhodes underwhelming, too perfect, and too polished, and indeed a generic mix of every superstar, saying he was a paint-by-numbers sociopathic nepo baby, and he was an errand boy that got lucky. And so Rhodes did have something to say for a change, which is a positive, but he said that they, being the fans, chose him, and he was not the one who sold out to The Rock. So thank goodness that someone finally mentioned The Rock here. Yeah, we need to know more about what happened to Cena's soul when he sold it to the final boss. But back to this promo, as Cena started to leave, it was Rhodes who said that no one ever told him that he couldn't wrestle. Cena turned around, and after faking leaving a second time, he swung at missed at Rhodes, leaving himself vulnerable to go right into the Cross Rhodes. So finally, Cody, I have to admit you said something worthwhile for a change. Were you as good as Cena? No, you were not even close, but at least you were not a doormat for a change. And yes, we do know that you can wrestle because you are the best wrestler on the planet. You never lose any matches, so I guess that's why we're here in the first place. But that's also why Cena needs to be this version of John Cena. So all of this of course, gets an okay. Chad Gable told Adam Pearce that he was still sick and presented him with another doctor's note. So even though Gable insisted that he would be fine for next week to wrestle in his hometown of Minneapolis, Pearce said that there's nothing more important than Gable's health, so he's booking El Grande Americano to wrestle instead. So Gable, not very happy with that news, he left as the Alpha Academy was entering. So of course, Gable had some not so kind words for them, but Maxine then went on to ask Pearce if he could talk to him about the tag division and her ideas that she has with Natalya. Well, I have to admit here, Pearce, this is pretty rough to keep your talent on the shelf an extra week when he might just be fine by then, but at least we get to see El Grande Americano, so this gets an okay. AJ Styles beat Logan Paul to the ring, saying he was tired of waiting for him, so when Paul got in there, he forgave Styles for what happened at Madison Square Garden, and so Styles says he forgave Paul as well. But even though this started to point towards a fight, Paul said he does not fight for free, and he needs a bigger venue, so he pointed at the WrestleMania sign and then tried to kick AJ Styles, who caught him, but Paul was able to get out of the way before a Styles clash. However, after getting his dome slammed up against the announce table, it was Paul who got the last laugh with a pulverizer in the middle of the ring. And if AJ Styles doesn't injure himself yet again, I suppose this could be a good WrestleMania match, so we'll give it an okay. And lastly, Jackie Redmond interviewed Lyra Valkyria, who thanked Bayley for her help last week against Liv and Raquel. But she said she wants a rematch against Bayley, so she'll give her a women's IC title match next week on Raw, which is cool, I guess, so sure, let's give that an okay. Some WrestleMania matches fall right into place so easily, like Styles and Paul, while others can never seem to quite get there, like what we saw with Rhea and Iyo tonight. But if you didn't quite get to my SmackDown review with all of the grades for every segment and match, be sure to go right on over here and check that out. And if you do, just like Bianca calling it right down the middle until she took a little bit too much damage, well, we'll have to give that an okay.